with our back to it, but I could hear him. And so what I immediately, and I joked about it, the pronunciation of the players' names, but he has, Luke, he has a voice that carries and commands respect and attention.
First and foremost, is there any truth to the rumor that Brian Shaw is trying to get this gym renamed for him?
Not that I've heard of. Did he go to school here or something? I don't know.
Yeah, Brian's a little gaucho.
Luke Walton, head coach of the Lakers. Has it sunk in for you? Has all of this kind of made sense for you?
It probably hasn't sunk in. We've been pretty busy since getting down here a few days before draft, and then before the NBA draft, and then free agency, and trying to hire a staff, and all of a sudden the season's here. So there really hasn't been a lot of time to sit back and let it sink in. We've just been grinding away and trying to get ready and prepared for training camp. And now that it's here, making little adjustments to the practice schedule that we had originally planned out, depending on how we do each day. And we're having fun, and we're pleased with the way the players are playing and the effort we're getting.
You are tasked to build and create a foundation in a new era of Laker basketball, and you have a lot of young talent. What is that one message that has to sink in as you set this foundation, not only for this season, but going forward?
To me, it's how hard we play every night, and do we play together every night? For now, for setting the foundation, are we going to play an unselfish brand of basketball, and are we going to compete when we step on the court, offensively, defensively? And if we do that, and we can do that, it's like anything else, Rick, it's building habits in practice. So are we doing that each day in practice, get it to carry over to the games? And I think if we can put that into the DNA of who we are, we'll be on a good track.
Well, when that doesn't result in wins, how difficult is it to sell that message to young players who are traditionally coming from programs where all they knew was winning?
Hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully it will turn into wins. Yeah. If it doesn't, we'll find out. This is, I think part of this process is being real and understanding we have to be patient. And that's for not only the players but the coaches. We can't just jump ship and get away from the big view of what we're trying to do if we lose 3 or 4 in a row. Just like if we win a couple in a row, we can't get too excited and stop working on all those little things that are getting us the win. So it's constantly staying in the middle. Finding that line of balance and realizing that we're building towards something bigger, and not to panic too much and not to get too excited depending on how a few games go here or there.
Your journey to a head coach role and position here now at the Lakers, you've been influenced by many great coaches. Any particular one turned to you one day and said, "Luke, you should think about coaching"?
Well, Phil told me. Phil told me when I was still playing that he thinks I'd make a good coach. I don't know if he did that, because he really thought it, or he told me that when I had a major back injury happening and I might not be able to play anymore, and I was pretty depressed in my life at that time. So he invited me into the coaching room with his staff, and B. Shaw was on that staff, and included me in what they were doing as a way to kind of keep me involved and keep me upbeat. But he had told me early on if I wanted to get in coaching, he thought I'd be a good coach. And he's a huge influence on the way I see the game of basketball, the way I see life, really. So like you said, I've been very lucky to play for him and Lute Olson, and then the last 2 years with Steve was just an unbelievable learning experience.
Coach, how much did you learn about yourself, and how much did it influence the decision for you to feel comfortable to take this job, to have those 44 games filling in for Steve last year?
It was huge, honestly, because I thought I saw everything Steve had to do from just being one seat over, and I was wrong. When I took over, it was so overwhelming with the amount of responsibilities and phone calls and media requests and everything that you have to do. That if I didn't have that experience, I don't know if I'd really be ready to handle this right now.
But you handled it. I could not have been more happy for you, because I think a lot of us that either played with you or know you, know your temperament, know your IQ as a basketball player. Making the transition to coach was a natural. It made complete sense, knowing that you come from a tree of Luke Olson and Phil Jackson. It just, everything is set there, but your work ethic, you're hearing your voice here in practice and knowing that it's reaching a generation of young players maybe that is needed. What you're finding with this generation of young players, because you played with other great players, but what is different about these players than the era that we came from?
From my experience, I think with this new generation, there's just a different approach that works as far as getting them to respond. And it's obviously it's case by case. You don't just have a blanket way of treating everybody on your team. You get to know the guys. You know what motivates and what pisses them off, and you use that, to bring out the best, to challenge them. I think, the older generations, in the way, to motivate us a lot of times was to yell at us, or to, you just no conversation really, just this is what we're doing, and the end of it, do it this way or you don't play. Right. And I think with the younger generation, they respond more to an open communication where they can give you their opinions and their views. And I think if you embrace that and you actually listen to them, a lot of times they have great ideas. You're one of the best players in the NBA, in the world, which means you're pretty good for the most part.
Right.
You're smart. You understand the game. So I think there is a lot of value in that dialogue with the players. Lou All has been in the league for 12 years, so we've already been talking about some of the plays we run and things that he's learned from other places, and it's been great. And once we get to that part of the practice plan, we'll start to add some of that in. And I just think it's a much more hands-on type of generation than when we were playing in the league.
The guys who are returning have really spoke to that this week, and how much they're enjoying that back and forth environment, the open communication, and really the focus has been on D'Angelo Russell, and he's talked about being a leader. What is the difference between talking about it and being the point guard on the court and actually gaining the respect of your teammates and being that guy?
Well, it's easy to talk about, but to get people to lead you, I think you have to show them that you're worth following. And we both played with Kobe, and we know that he was very hard on his teammates. But when you see him as the first player in the gym every day, you see him as the last player to leave every day. You see the work he's putting in, how hard he's competing, how much he's trying to bring you along and work with you. Then all of a sudden, you want to play for him. And that's what D'Angelo is learning to do, and that's what he's going to have to do to be a great leader. He's got to let the other guys not by telling them, but by showing them on the court that he has their back too. That he's willing to do the extra work. He's going to play the point guard position from, a place of getting everybody involved, all these little things. And it takes time. No one just naturally becomes a leader overnight. It takes time, and it takes adversity and going through adversity as a group to come up and then all of a sudden have that type of faith in people.
Do you show him tape of any other point guards?
Not yet, no. We're right now the main focus is on what we're trying to do and what we're trying to improve on as a group. So we're not really using outside video right now too much.
Luke Walton, we appreciate you having us into your practice today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. I hope you guys had fun. They told us, which I was surprised.
Like you guys had fun.
We have fun, but normally the music's 10 times louder. But they told me that you guys wanted it down. I said, wait,
no,
Rick,
not us.
My guy Rick Fox wants me to turn down my music.
We can't pay those rights, man. Future and those guys.
Got you.
Who picks the playlist? You?
We take turns picking it. During the season, we'll do competitions and let whoever wins pick the playlist.
But thanks so much for having us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.